What's going on, guys? For those who haven't seen me before, my name is Josh and I'm documenting my different investment strategies and how I'm using cryptocurrency to generate passive sources of income. So today I'm going to be discussing the best antenna you can use for your Helium miners and the best place you can place your antennas in your house. For my new deployments, I will be using my Panther miners. These are a new Helium mining company that just came out recently, and I got these within about 30 to 40 days of my purchase. One of these Helium miners are going to be deployed in the same house where I deployed my first minted Helium miner. What I've learned over the past month is that profitability, when it comes to proof of coverage, it's more dependent on the transmit scale of the Helium miners that are sending out beacons rather than the transmit scale that your Helium miner has. So even though you have, say, a 0.7 transmit scale for your specific Helium miner, as long as you're witnessing either a lot of Helium miners or Helium miners with really high transmit skills, you're still going to have a relatively high profitability compared to others. So I will be testing out whether or not that is true with the Helium network. I'll be deploying one miner over there at that location and just see how profitability shakes out between the two miners. And if that works out, I might even consider deploying a third Helium miner in the same exact location, rather than having to deploy miners in different houses, in different parts of the city. That would just be a lot of work for me. The goal is, if that experiment does work out and my profitability stays high for both my miners and I don't lose too much profitability with the transmit scale going down, it would make more sense to deploy multiple miners in the same exact location rather than having to spread out into different houses in different parts of the city, just because it would take a lot more time to go fix a miner if one of them went down, having to drive to this different location every single time to fix them. The second Helium miner will be staying at my house until I can figure out whether or not profitability works out having two miners in the same location. If profitability doesn't scale down too much, I'll deploy all three of them in the same location. As for my fourth Helium miner, my plan is I will be deploying that fourth Helium miner at my house. Like I said in previous videos, topography is so important with deploying your Helium miners and having high profitability. Really tall buildings, lots of trees, lots of biomass blocking your beacons to other Helium miners. You not only will not be able to be witnessed, but you won't be able to witness other Helium miner beacons. And that's going to cut down your profitability a lot. I would say probably 60% of your profitability when it comes to Helium mining comes from being able to witness other beacons from other Helium miners. If you're in a location, let's say you're 20 feet underground and you're not able to witness a ton of beacons from other Helium miners, you're not going to have any profits. Now, I live in a suburb of Seattle where the houses are pretty far spread out from each other and there are trees all over the place. Washington State has so many trees, and these trees can provide coverage up to 50 to 100 feet in the air. So that's gonna be a big challenge when it comes to witnessing beacons in my area. Currently on the second floor, my Helium miner is about 20 feet off the ground. The Helium antenna will definitely not be clearing most of the trees in my area, hence why I've only been getting 0.01, 0.02 Helium per day. It's pretty terrible profitability. Now, my solution is I will be installing the Helium miner upstairs in my attic. Hopefully I can witness an additional 5, 10, maybe even 20 Helium miners in the area by adding an extra 10 feet of height off the ground. Now, if I'm only able to witness an additional 1 or 2 Helium miners in my area per day, probably not gonna see a huge profitability bump. What a lot of people do is they mount their Helium antennas outside of their house on the roof of their house. Now, the issue with that is a lot of people don't think about grounding your Helium antennas. To get my Helium miners as high as possible without having to mount it outside, I decided to mount my antennas in my attic. You don't have a very high dBi loss when it comes to mounting your antennas in an attic, because all there is wood and insulation and maybe shingles. There's not a lot of signal loss when it comes to mounting it up in your attic. Whereas when you're putting it behind a double pane glass window, you're actually gonna lose a whole dBi of gain, which is gonna affect your transmit and also chances of you witnessing another beacon. So what I am using to mount my Helium miners is this. So basically what this is a 3D printed part that is used for mounting your Helium miners onto a microphone boom arm. Now, I have a bunch of these microphone boom arms just for different lights that I use for my other business to take photos. You can find this actual file linked in GitHub down in the description, but basically this was made for a rack Helium miner that you can actually bolt on. Now, I actually retrofitted this onto the Panther miner. Antenna that I will be using is a 8 dBi antenna from Rack Wireless. These are about $60 off the Rack website, and they're pretty tall actually, but it's 8 dBi, which it'll stay compliant with POC v11, so you won't have your gain scale down in order to meet POC V11. So this whole setup will make it extremely easy for me to not only move it around in my house, but also move it to other locations without having to take it apart every single time. Basically, all it is a $10 to $15 boom arm you can get off Amazon. I have this 3D printed part that I had one of my employees make for me that just screws into the boom arm. Right there. For me, I actually super glued it because I'm not going to be using this again. And the 8 dBi rack wireless antenna, which I will have a link to the antenna and also the connectors down in the description, and I'll have a coupon code listed below. Initially, I was using this Helium miner for the past, I think, 3 or 4 days using the stock 3 dBi antenna, and I was getting really lousy profitability. I wasn't even mining a 0.1 Helium. I was probably making $1 or $2 a day, which is kind of terrible. So we're gonna see whether or not installing this Helium antenna higher up and in my attic will produce better results. I'm having a feeling that there won't be enough witnesses in the area to make it really profitable. So maybe moving this to another location might be a good idea. So let me show you guys how I'm gonna be mounting it upstairs. Guys, we finally made it up here. So this is my attic. Just to give you a quick overview. I created a platform where I could just have a level space to place the boom arm on. And you have the antenna mounted as high up as possible, just so I can get as high as possible and clear as many trees as I can. And because my house has a Google Mesh system, I'm able to connect the Helium miner to my Wi-Fi. This is probably the best way for you guys to mount your antennas in your house, in your attic, outside, is if you invest in a Google Mesh system. That way you don't have to worry about wiring Ethernet up here, because running Ethernet cables probably would cost a lot of money if it's like, you know, a 60-foot cable. No one will know you have a Helium miner in your house as long as you don't put your miner location at the exact place where you live. But dare I say, having a Helium miner in your attic with this setup is probably the best and easiest way to get your Helium miner as high as possible without having to worry about having extra cabling, Ethernet wired upstairs, or having to worry about grounding a cable outside. Yes, you'd probably make more money mounting the Helium antenna outside your house, against the wall, mounting it on the chimney, yeah, all that stuff. But not only does it look ugly, but you also invite other Helium miners to know, hey, I have a Helium miner in my house. I don't want to dox my house. I don't want to dox my location, so hence I don't want to put it outside the house. Having it as low profile and low key as possible is my goal right now. Thank you so much again, guys, for watching my video. Relatively short video today. Just wanted to post something real quick on YouTube and say I miss you guys. We will have more content coming up in the future. Another rig that I'm going to be building over there, and some more graphics cards for future videos. So make sure you guys click the subscription and notification button down below so you can stay updated for my next video they'll be posting. And I'll see you guys next time. Take it easy.